How many books, how many courses and lectures, how much studying does it take to convince you you're ready, that the truth is within you? This isn't to say that teach learning and learn teaching hasn't got its uses. Besides, one's other selves are other aspects of oneself. Therefore, learning from a teacher is learning from oneself. This is simply to say that one can finally move on to being one's own source of truth, and beyond that, one can finally put what one has learned into practice. The obstetric method of Socrates, through a series of questions, helped his students realize that the truth was already there inside of them. All he did was pretending to be ignorant on a given philosophical point and simply asked them theoretical questions that activated their own ability to dig within and find the answer. Socrates was just the midwife, helping his students give birth to the light of truth. Ask and you shall receive. Start slowly, one point at a time. You will see a picture forming. Clearer and clearer the truth will present itself to you because you ask it to do so. Universal or natural law, as a set of concepts, applies everywhere in the cosmos because everyone everywhere has their own unique access to it, and therefore it is natural and comprehensible by all. There is no book you need to read. It is part of one's own makeup. The veil of confusion and oblivion has, of course, its use. But on the earth plane the time of slumber has ended and the time to remember has come. Confusion served its purpose to split oneness into parts, and now we simply remember the body of truth that we are. Of course, from the point of view of eternity, this wobble was just a mere thought, if we can even call it that in time stretched out into eons of change and development that included several ups and downs and several periods and layers of sleeping and awakening. We now rediscover we are part of a universal information network, a web of light and love connecting us all. We now ask the right questions, clear our channels of communication, trust our own power, and safely send and receive love, light, and information. As pure consciousness, we are simply the awareness of this exchange. Of course, we often buy into the illusion that we are a body or a personality before we can eventually go back to the detached knowing of it being an exchange of consciousness. And these wobbles need to be understood for their quantum nature, meaning there are small wobbles within a bigger one, and smaller still within the small ones, and so on. It stands to reason then that even if we find the truth within, having asked the right questions, we may still lose our balance as we process smaller and more specific questions that crop up. Emotions may rise up, but they too need to be processed. When it feels like this whole process is dragging on too long, realize that this comes from an inner knowing of what time really is. You know the truth within, you have access to it, and yet you find yourself within a world that hasn't yet caught up with you. Just attune to the timeless part of you, meditate and have some rest within that peace of eternity, and remember that your eternal aspect is one with the aspect of you that exists in time. Laugh at your perceived impatience, smile at your cute confusion. This is just what time is. Now, regarding theory and practice, or the mental realm and the physical realm, or the light dimension and the dense dimension, or time-space and space-time. These polarity concepts do meet and indeed are one. When you meditate, contemplate, and ask the right questions, what you're doing is philosophical and theoretical work. You're in the mental realm, you're in the light dimension, or time-space. Then you may proceed by using your inner truth in a practical way within a physical, dense, space-time level. These two sides are communicating with each other constantly. They coexist and are codependent. for it is our physical, dense bodies that actually go into meditation and contact our higher aspect looking for the truth. And it is our higher selves that decided to condense into a physical experience and have this journey of consciousness. Light exists in physicality, and physicality exists in light, quite literally. The trouble most of us have with putting theory into practice comes from the shocking re-entering of our higher aspects into a world or reality that hasn't yet caught up with us. This shock is enough to plunge us again into confusion. It is also an indication that there is a lot more we need to process within. The biggest gurus that have ever inspired humanity towards spiritual liberation were able to ground their higher light aspects into the physical body. They were walking around on the earth plane in their physical bodies, and yet they were in constant conscious unison with their higher aspects. That is the meaning of remembering and reintegrating all aspects of ourselves. This is the meaning of putting theory into practice. But as it is a process, don't fret, don't succumb to impatience. This takes time. Embrace multidimensionality. Put theory to good practice, connecting your higher self to the physical realm, and practice theorizing and meditating, connecting your physical body to the light realm. And if a little wobble comes along, smile at it, process it, accept it, transmute it. And like the creator that you are, create the solution, further the journey, and remember, reintegrate, and be the pure and detached awareness of bliss that you are.